Hey there, welcome to the virtual table. So I happen to have a YouTube video that I made, but my microphone wasn't working, so the entire video has no audio. So anyways, what I would like to do is I would like to show you um, how to do some party planning for Rogue Trader. And I'm just going to use my YouTube video and talk to it. And so at this point in 2025, there are two expansions. I have both. And let me jump ahead. So I'm going to go ahead and pause it here. So for the difficulty levels, um, when you're doing the difficulty, the daring difficulty level, you can see there's 0% pretty much all the way across. This is the difficulty level where the game gives you no bonuses and the enemy also has no bonuses. So it's the game, I think, at its core. Anything higher than daring is going to be bad for you, and anything lower than daring is going to be good for you. And so if it's your very first game and you choose normal, normal is fine. And in fact, I recommend that because it'll help you to ease into the game. And the biggest thing I just want you to understand is that you can change the difficulty level at any point in the game. Just go into your options. So if you finish the prologue and say, hey, this normal is too easy, you can always bump it up. And even at certain points in the game, if it gets too hard, you can bump it back down. So anyways, the next thing is when you're developing your character, we're in the develop character screen here. The archetypes, anytime you watch somebody else's video, the archetypes is where they start. And it's where they do it correctly. There are 5 archetypes in the game that you can choose from. And let me just get some things out of the way. The game, well, first of all, I think this is an awesome game. And you could play any of these, and I think it would work fine. I think most people recommend doing an officer, because an officer sort of sits back and gives bonus actions to others. So you could, like, your main character can focus on like the bard type skills, the persuasion and the coercion and and things like that. You can focus on those types of skills, the social skills, and let the other characters do the combat stuff. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. And in fact, that's the way I went in my first game. And if you wanted to do the same, you can. I would say out of all these, the 2 most complicated ones are Operative and Blade Dancer. Blade Dancer on the surface is not complicated, but there's a lot of blood mechanics with that one that you have to do a lot of reading and understanding how the blood system works. The Operative, I don't think is that hard, but compared to the others, it's one of the more complicated ones. Just a real quick, the Warrior is your tanky, get up, do melee combat. The Officer is your step back, focus on social skills, and then give bonus actions to everybody else. The Operative is more your, I don't want to say sniper, but they do things that can boost their damage, and they can do it for melee or range combat. Operative is very flexible. Soldier is range combat. So you want to, go in with your guns, do a lot of burst shots, soldiers for you. And then Blade Dancer is a very specialized melee character. Warrior has more armor. They're going to be more agile. Heavy armor, think heavy armor, think monk, except with swords, right? So anyways, so that's the archetypes. And the archetypes do, as you get to level 16, they do get to be higher level. And so certain classes here will unlock classes there. But anyways, let's see what... I'm going to move through the video here. And here you can see the Operative unlocks these classes. So if you're planning your party, you may want to look ahead and see what are the advanced archetypes you want to have, because the Operative is going to unlock any of these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And you only get to pick one, of course. But the Operative will let you have any of those. So I'm going to move along. This is actually beneficial because you can see how long-winded I was, and I'm doing it much quicker now. All right, so this... Oh my gosh.
This game, you're not ready for it.
JB had to watch an ad within my ads. that was an ad from my YouTube channel. So now JB had to watch an ad within an ad, huh? Anyways, every character has characteristics that you see here, and what they're showing here is, or what I'm showing here is, if you give points in your fellowship, it improves your persuasion, your commerce, and your coercion. So these are called characteristics, and these are skills. Skills are derived from characteristics. So, and you can see which, like this skill is derived from the strength characteristic, and intelligence is used for a lot of them, the skills at least. So here's a rule of thumb. If you're making a warrior tanky type person, you want to focus on, this is your most important skill, weapon, and then strength will give you extra damage. This gives you your chance to hit. This gives you damage when you hit. This is your hit points. Now they do a little bit more than that. Strength gives you athletics. Toughness also lets you resist toxins and poisons. But at its core, weapon skill is your ability to actually connect with your hit. Strength is your damage. Toughness is your hit points. No matter what class or archetype you are, toughness is good. So if you're ever like in doubt on which one to choose toughness. But anyways, you're going to get 30 points when you create a character, and you can only put 10 points in each one. So if you chose a warrior, for example, you would be able to put 10 in weapon, 10 in strength, 10 in toughness. Perfect. The next one from the archetypes after warrior was the officer. Well, the officer, you want fellowship. Fellowship is really important for all the officer skills, and anything after fellowship is up to you. You can have an officer who carries around a shotgun. Well, then you're going to want to put points in ballistic skill, because weapon skill is for melee and ballistic skill is for ranged. Or you can have an officer that walks around with a sword. Well, then you're going to want to put points in weapon skill and strength. And then, like I said, toughness is always a good choice. So the other thing you could do is you could say, hey, you know, I don't really want to be good at anything particular, well, then you can, make them into a skill monkey or whatever. There's a lot of choices there, but the point is, if you're going officer, fellowship is your primary stat you need to focus on. The third one being the operative. The operative is, it depends on whether you want to go weapons, melee, or range. And there is a potential build where you do both, weapon and range, because there is an advanced archetype called Arch Militant that takes advantage of that. The problem is then you have a lot of places you need to put points in, and you don't have enough points to put them in all of those places. So I think it's going to overall be a weaker character. You're better off focusing, at least for your first game. And so, anyways, the operative doesn't care where you put things. The archetype is just, whichever, do you want to be a melee or a range? You pick and then just, use it accordingly. If you're doing range, which the next one is soldier, obviously we've been talking about ballistic skill is important for range attack. Toughness is good for hit points. Strength doesn't help you much, although some of the heavier burst weapons do require like 50 strength to be able to carry them. So you may want to not ignore strength. But ballistic, toughness, and perception. Now perception, what that does is it's really sneaky. It reduces the enemy's ability to dodge bullets. Or it improves your aim, however way you want to look at it. Perception is very important for being able to reduce their ability to dodge the bullets. Ballistic is also reduced, so basically ballistic improves your chances of hitting them, and perception reduces their chances of dodging it, if you will. Weapon skill is very similar. It improves your chances of hitting them. I think agility actually reduces their chances of dodging. So I should mention that agility does help with reducing their chance of dodging, and it increases your dodge. Now, the other thing with agility is, and that's what the Blade Dancer, you want to specialize in agility, uh, because Blade Dancer is a very low armor, uh, high, dodging type of character. The the other thing with oh, bear with me here. Agility does help with demolition, which is your ability to disarm traps. And there was something else about agility and dodging. Oh, I remember. If you're wearing heavy armor reduces your ability to dodge. So if you want to maximize your dodging ability, your high agility, you must wear low armor. So if you're going full on warrior with heavy armor, agility is not as important, other than you do reduce their chance of dodging your attack. But if you're going Blade Dancer, you're going to wear hardly any armor, just light armor, and then you're going to be high agility, and of course that reduces their chance of dodging your attack, which does help you with connecting. Now you might be saying, okay, well hold on. If perception helps you to hit, and ballistic also helps you to hit, why is it redundant? Like, why are there two of them? So the nuance here is perception and agility reduce their chance of dodging your attack. Like I said, weapon skill and ballistic skill do improve your chances of connecting, but they also improve your chances of critically hitting. So critical hit chance goes up with these two skills. So it's, yeah, if you swing at them, this gives you a higher chance of hitting. This gives them a higher chance of, or a lower chance of dodging. But if you do hit, this gives you also a higher chance of critically hitting. And then, of course, the strength is just overall, just raw damage. So hopefully that makes sense. Melee versus range, two different buckets. And so then we're coming back to here, and I'm showing some of the advanced classes. So if you choose Soldier, for example, you can then pick Arch-Militant, Master Tactician, or Bounty Hunter. And when you're planning your party, you do want to start thinking about, okay, where do you want to go when you grow up? And anyways, the part about this that that I think, if I can summarize what I was talking about here, the choices for you are the Assassin and the Vanguard are both melee-centric. This one is like a Dwarven Defender, heavy defense. This one is pure offense. So they're almost like the antithesis of each other. And if you choose a warrior, you could be either one. The Blade Dancer, I think, can also be either one. The Soldier, which is a range specialist. Arch-Militant is a you basically, you're building up stacks of points, and for every stack, every point you have in your stack, your skills get better and better. And skills meaning your armor penetration, your ability to hit, all those things. And the way you earn points is you have to switch the type of attack you're doing. So you could go from melee, you can kick somebody melee, there's a kick skill, and then you can shoot them. And then you kick them again, and then you shoot them. And as long as you alternate back and forth, you're gaining points in this in the stacks here. But you could also just be pure shooter, which is what I did, and you could do a single shot and then a burst shot. Single shot, burst shot. So as long as you alternate back and forth between that, you're still earning stack points for the Arch-Militant. The Master Tactician is very similar. You're earning stack points, but in this one it's different. You get them based on your, I think it's your fellowship. I could be wrong. There's a particular skill or characteristic, and the higher your levels in that characteristic, the more you get, and then you get a certain amount at the start of combat, and then you earn them as things happen during combat. And what you do is you store them up, and then you can spend them like whole bunches of them, and as you spend them, they're going to boost your damage or your armor penetration or both. And so um, they're a little different. Like this one, you have to alternate types of attacks. This one, it doesn't matter what kind of attack you're doing, but you have to like pay attention to the skills. And as long as you have the right skills, you can build up points of tactician and then spend them whenever you want, and then have like burst attacks. So you could have regular attacks for a while, and then you can burst and do a whole bunch of extra damage. Bounty Hunter is your typical sniper type class. Um, Pretty cool. You could mark prey, and then you have all these different skills that go around being able to hit prey, and it also very highly a lot of skills on critical hits. Like you have to critical hit first, and then when you do, all kinds of other things happen. And so you got to be really high on your ballistic skill for Bounty Hunter. Grand Strategist is an extremely interesting, but also probably the most difficult one to learn. You can, in a combat, you can designate spots on the map, and you have 3 zones you get to create, and you paint them on the map. They can be a certain size. There's an offensive zone where anybody standing in that zone gets bonuses to their ability to hit and armor penetrate. Then there's like a defensive zone where you get bonuses to your armor and your ability to dodge. And then there's a shooting zone that if you're standing in that zone, it increases your ability to hit with your ranged attack. And so you get to put all 3 of those zones out, and those cost you 0 action points. They're free to do. And then most of the skills are about boosting those zones and doing things to manipulate those zones, so they give you, all kinds of spectacular bonuses. The trick is you got to control the battlefield and make sure you stay in those zones as you're attacking. And yes, your character can move the zones around, and that's also free. At least my understanding, I think you can move one zone around a combat round for free. In the beginning, you can put all 3 of them down for free, but then after that, you can only move one at a time. But it sort of works out because the offensive zone does move. Because once you kill everybody, then you need to move to another group of enemies. But the shooting zone, if you got a good spot where you can aim at all the enemies on the combat board, that doesn't need to move ever. And so, anyways, it's a very involved. I would say I don't recommend this for your first playthrough, but some of you guys are more than capable of handling it. The Executioner is damage over time. There's 3 types of damage over time. There's poison or toxin. There's burn, which is fire, and then there's bleed. Bleeding, which is mostly for melee type characters. What Executioner does is it basically has a whole series of skills and abilities that you can get that enhance those damage over times. It adds more stacks of bleeding, more stacks of burning, or it makes the burning do more damage, and all that good stuff. As of right now, the Executioner class is the most overpowered class in the game. It by far and away is more powerful than anything else you see here. That's not to say that these other ones don't work. They do. And in fact, I'm doing a playthrough now in my second playthrough of this game after beating it, where I'm avoiding the Executioner. And it is harder. It's harder, but there's some enjoyment for me because the Executioner was so strong that like the game almost got too easy. And now I feel the challenge again because I have to really use the skills of all these other classes to make it work. Then the Overseer is the final one, and that one the Overseer is about pets. So you have a Raven, which can be used by Psykers. Psykers are your wizard type class in the game. And then you have the dog, which only the Arbiter class can use. Arbiter, not class, but Arbiter background or origin here. And then you have a Skull Swarm and an Eagle, which anybody can use. and they all behave very differently. The Raven sort of enhances your psyker abilities and increases their range. The dog, which is used for the Arbiter, um, is just a pure. It's like having another party member. It just goes out and attacks for you. The eagle is a very high damage, precise strike. It does swoops on the battlefield. I actually really love the eagle. I highly recommend the eagle. In fact, I highly recommend an officer and then an overseer combo, and then you choose the eagle as your overseer pet. I think that is a fantastic way to play your first game. And but definitely, try it out. And then the Skull Swarm is about buffing and debuffing. So the Skull Swarm has like a radius around it, and it moves around the battlefield, and you can either buff everybody in it or you can debuff the enemies that are within it. It's your choice. You can only do one or the other. You can't do both at the same time. So anyways, I'm going to go ahead and see here that we're selecting the different ones and showing the different, like the operative can move to Grand Strategist. And I do recommend that if you do want to try this Grand Strategist, that, this is a good combo. To do that, I think an officer Grand Strategist would also be a good combo. All right, and then
Stop spending real money on in-game cosmetics. How? Using Buff. With the Buff app.
All right, JB, I get it. Anyways, so then we have these are the different origins you can choose. And what you want to do is just pay attention to here, and I'm going to go ahead and play it. But so here you can see the military commander. There's a crime lord, and they have different skills that you get where they'll buff your characteristic and your skills. So when you're creating your character, these are things you get immediately. You also get this skill here, the Surefire Plan, immediately. But then if you scroll this down, yeah, you can see I'm talking about that right there. And so then I'm just jumping to here, and I'm showing how, you're getting those characteristic boosts, from your origin. So you want to choose an origin that complements your character. And then what I'm pointing out here is anything that's below this see where it says available after origin advancement, this means after you level up. So you don't start the game with these. And these are talents that you have to spend points on when you level up. So you can play the whole game and never have these talents. Or you can, spend your points on them and have them all. But anyways, so like this crime lord here starts with weapon skill, so that's a melee skill. And that's what I'm pointing out right here, is that it's a melee skill, and then this is a range skill. And so I'm explaining that there, and I'm going to barrel on, because I actually am doing this a lot quicker. Maybe I am. I'm at 23 minutes, and I'm only at 18 minutes on the video. So anyways, let's keep going. So here you can see this is now your origin location. So the Deathworld character gets 3 bonuses and 2 negatives. So you'll notice that fellowship is negative here. Well, maybe you don't want this to be an officer, because an officer needs to have high fellowship. And then here I'm just talking about like these talents, once again, you have to spend points on. So the homeworld that you choose gives you talents. The origin you choose gives you talents. And then those talents just go into a pool of available talents that when you level up, you can spend points on. And you can pick any of them. And the origin and the homeworld sort of build your pool of talents that you can choose from. And then your archetype also has talents you can choose from. There's 3 different, there's all these different buckets that you get talents from. So I'm going to keep going here. So here I'm talking about the Voidborn with the high willpower and intelligence. That's really good. And the Voidborn has a lot of gambling luck type abilities. And I think I'm talking about that here. And this one is probably one of the more complicated ones, just because these talents are more, you got to read them a bit. There's a lot going on. But anyways, I'm going to keep going. Hive World is good for an officer, right? You get high fellowship, low willpower, right? So the willpower looks awful, but look at this camaraderie here. You get fellowship for your officer, and then the camaraderie. Basically, whoops. I'm gonna pause it right there. The willpower resistance test uses fellowship instead of willpower. So you're getting less willpower, which is used for resisting, mind attacks or psyker attacks. But with camaraderie, your fellowship value is used instead of your willpower. So this -5 willpower doesn't hurt you at all. Unless you're a psyker. You don't want to be psyker and Hive World. That would be a bad combo. But and then it gives you a +5 bonus to your fellowship here. So you're well on your way. And so you want to have a high fellowship character. You can choose this camaraderie. Remember, you have to spend points on this. This is something you don't start the game with. But once you level up, you can choose this. And then you get yourself a really nice combo. You make him into an officer, and you're well on your way. So then we continue, and then we have this is the Forge character, and there's some I'm gonna find it right there. So this character, a Forge World character, has intelligence and toughness, and then low fellowship. Right, not good for an officer. But you can see here that persuasion, coercion, and commerce, 3 skills that are based off of fellowship. For this character, if you choose calculated relations, your intelligence is used for those 3 skills instead. So you can ignore fellowship with this character, completely ignore it. That could be a dump stat for you. And just focus on high intelligence instead, and then you'll get these 3 extra skills on top of the other skills that intelligence already gives you. Now, one thing I do want to caution you on, you don't want to be an officer in this situation, because officers have abilities that rely on your fellowship skill, your fellowship characteristic. And so your fellowship needs to be high for some of those officer skills to be valuable. And if you choose something like this, it lets you avoid fellowship, and you still get these 3 skills can still be very high because you're ignoring the fellowship, but the officer skills themselves are not going to be very good for you. So this is probably not a good combo for an officer, but I could see a lot of possibilities, and being able to ignore fellowship means that you can have a highly intelligent skill monkey type character that can also handle all the social skills on top of it. So very, very good. And then we move on to the Imperial World, and the big thing with Imperial World here is that all characters get to choose to give themselves +10 in any characteristic except for the melee and ballistic, the weapon skill and ballistic skill. But you could choose any of the other characteristics and just give yourself a +10 with no penalty. And then I'm showing that there's this Stronger Together skill that, basically a full party is 6 party members. The other 5 party members get a +5 to whatever it is that you chose. So if I chose a +10 fellowship here, everybody else in the party gets +5. And this can be really important because things like toughness are hit points. So Solomorn and Abelard are 2 companions in the game, and they are both Imperial characters, Imperial World, and they chose for their +10 toughness. And so if you choose them, I think they chose toughness. Let me check real quick. I have a little spreadsheet here. Yeah, Abelard chose toughness. Solomon also chose, technically his name is Solomorn. They also chose toughness. And so they're really nice to have in your party, because if you have Abelard in your party, he's giving +5 toughness to everybody else. And so he has a +10 himself, and everybody else has +5. So you just gave your whole party a bunch of hit points. Now, a really important thing here is that both of them, you would think, okay, does it stack? And the answer is no, it does not. But if you do have both of them in your party, Solomon at least gives Abelard another 5, and then Abelard gives Solomon another 5. But yeah, you don't get more than 5. It doesn't stack. Now there is for the companions, you have Jay here who gives out fellowship. Argenta gives out agility. Heinrichs gives out strength, and Idiri gives out willpower. So if you're planning your party on the Imperial trait, homeworld trait, and you want to do that, to share the skills, you can have a full Imperial party if you wanted, and have, each one of these, like this guy's giving +5 to the other 5 party members. You get +5 fellowship to the other 5 party members. Like all these party members are getting it. I can tell you though that this one is the best of all of them, toughness, because everybody benefits from toughness. Strength only benefits a few people. Willpower only benefits the psychers, and yeah, I guess you could argue it benefits everybody, but it's not as good. Fellowship hardly benefits anybody unless it just benefits the officers and nobody else. Agility does benefit everybody, it gives them dodge, but it's not quite as good as the toughness is. So then I also, if you create an overseer archetype, which is the mid-level archetype, second level, can the companion become an overseer? And you can see that Idiri and Heinrichs can, and they can both have ravens. And one of the special rules is that if you have a psyker, they can always be an overseer. Doesn't matter what archetype. A warrior can never be an overseer unless it's a psyker warrior, which is what Heinrichs is in this situation. So if he's a psyker warrior, he can still take the overseer and get a raven. And you can see Argenta can't be an overseer. Jay can, and I gave her an eagle. And Pascal, I gave him the skull swarm. And then Solomon, because he's an arbiter, he gets the dog. And then these other companions can't be an overseer, and they also are not imperial. Now, I also have, as you can see up here, these are the characteristics for your characters, and these are the bonuses that those characteristics give you, the derived bonuses. And then anything you see in yellow are skills. So parry is not a skill, but it's a derived bonus that you get from the weapon skill. So every time you improve weapon skill, you get parry, your ability to hit, and your ability to crit. Resolve or momentum is its own little animal, and none of these characteristics give you resolve or momentum. Those are things you get from your classes. So like officers give everybody resolve or momentum. The Raven can give everybody that's within its sphere of influence +2 resolve or a momentum. Those are things you get through mechanisms in the game. Perception gives you dodge reduction and awareness. Willpower gives you mental resist, and then if you're a psyker, that's where your power comes from. So willpower is so important if you're a psyker. Fellowship gives you these 3 skills. Intelligence gives you a whole boatload of skills, as you see here, but it also boosts your area attacks, which area attacks are if you aim at the ground and it shoots everything in an area around it, and that could be like a burst shot. But anyways, our area attacks rely on intelligence. Agility gives you initiative in combat, which is how soon you get to go. Your dodge, their dodge reduction, and demolition. And this is, saying you see perception also has dodge reduction. So there's a little bit of both going on there. In fact, I'm wondering if this is wrong. That could be wrong. Carouse and wounds, so your hit points, and your carouse skill are based on toughness, and then strength is the amount of damage you do, and athletics. And then ballistic skill is your range hit and your range crit. And here you can see I'm even getting into, these are the different homeworlds and what kind of skill you get and what kind of bonuses you get and what kind of, curse you get. So, anyways, it's there's a lot to making a character. Don't overthink it. Just make a general plan, and as far as like a six-party character or six-character party, you want to focus on the different characteristics. Um, you want somebody to be your intelligence person. You want somebody to be your fellowship, with these skills. You want somebody to be good at these skills. You want somebody to be good at that and that. So you're going to probably want characters that highlight certain characteristics and focus on those the most. All right, so if we keep going here, the last one here is the Fortress World, which has a bonus to shooting, and you can see I'm also talking about the willpower gets a bonus, and then of course there's some shooting bonuses down here as well. Then when you get to the origin, this is how you become a psyker, and the noble gives you more skills right from the start, and then you get some nice boosts, and then it unlocks more talents to your talent pool when you level up. Noble is a great choice for officer. You would think that the Navy officer would be, but actually the Noble's better. The key thing to understand, though, is you can become a psyker and any of the archetypes.
For service, press 1. Your call is important to us. You are 87th in line.
I've never watched my own videos before, so these ads. Anyways, we keep going. And then you get to pick a boon. And I'm just pointing out here that the Apex of Brilliance shows up a lot in the story. And then you have to pick a curse. So you're going to get you have to just pick your poison. But I will warn you that there's events or things that can happen in the game where that number gets worse. So you start with a -5 persuasion, but you could get a -10 or even a -20, depending on what happens in the game. All right, let's keep going. So here I'm talking about the skills again, or characteristics. We're going to keep going. And I'm talking about the different archetypes. All right, so when you level up, it's going to look like this. Level 1, you're going to get these skills here, these little circles. And then here you're going to get when I say spend points, this little symbol here means you're going to get to choose a type of skill from a pool of skills that'll be over here on the right. And once you choose one, then that fills up that circle. So you'll get to choose one skill or attribute or whatever they're called. And then here you get to choose another one. And it's got these different symbols. Like this means you're actually going to get to improve one of your characteristics. So like you're going to get +5 fellowship or whatever it is you want to do. That's what this means. This means you're going to get this Carnival of Misery. You can see how the pictures are the same, which is one of your ultimate abilities. And so you're going to unlock your ultimate here. And that'll be level, let's see, 1, 2, 3. That'll be level 4. Then level 5, you get 2 things. And you're going to get to improve one of your skills, which is what this is. Not characteristic. This is characteristic. This is skill. This is another skill, and that's another characteristic. So you're going to get to improve your characters in multiple ways. And then this, with the little running thing, you get like an actual, I can't remember, but it's like a hard-coded skill or whatever. I keep using the word skill, but maybe a feature or whatever you get. Ability. That's the word, ability. So then you get to pick another one of these shield pool abilities here. And then here you get to pick, I can't remember what the storybook is, but it is another ability, but it could be like a common ability. Like this is like a archetype. That's a common. And anyways, as you keep going and you level up, every time you level up, you get to add, you go around the wheel and you're adding more and more to your character. And then here I'm showing the Overseer, and these are the 4 pets you can have. And we already talked about that, but the Mastiff, which is the dog, you have to be an Arbiter origin to be able to use the dog. The Raven requires you to be a Psyker. And then the Skull and the Eagle is available to anybody who chooses it. And then what we're doing here is I'm loading a game because I wanted to show you I'm showing you my character. And so what I did here is I made an officer, and I chose the iconic classed path, and my persuasion was 275. This is an end game save that you're looking at here. And I focused heavily on fellowship because that's what's used for an officer. And you can see all the different reasons I got bonuses to the officer. Some of them were from leveling up. Some of them was from choices in the game. This one's from my home world. So there's all kinds of different sources you get for leveling up your character and boosting your character. So with this guy being an officer, he needed to focus on fellowship, and you can see I'm at 120, and then my fellowship skills are really high. Now with Deary here, she's a psyker, and I focused on fire. So she's a fire executioner. And remember, executioner is damage over time, and one of the 3 damage over time was burn. And so the fire, she makes people burn. And then because she has the executioner skill, she makes them burn a lot hotter. And I can, with this one character, just her alone, I can wipe out a map with 35 enemies in 1 round. She is that powerful. She can just wipe the field. And she is so powerful that everybody else just supports her. That's how powerful this fire psyker is. And with execution. And then Heinrichs is your other psyker that you get, and these are the 2 companions you can get in the game. And with him, I chose Sword of Faith as the as his ability, and he's got Carnival of Misery just like she does, which is that this is the executioner. And so the key thing to understand is that yeah, and I'm just showing that he does bleeding and poison. That's his specialty. She burns, he bleeds and poisons them. Now, she hits a lot of enemies at once. He does 1,000 points of damage to 1 enemy. So he's a very high damage to 1 enemy. She's spreads a lot of damage to multiple enemies. And sometimes if you have like a really tough boss, she'll kill all the other people and then he'll go finish off the boss. So those 2 together are fantastic, and they're both executioners. That's why I'm saying executioner is like overpowered in this game. But for your first game, you should choose executioner, because it really will it'll be very forgiving. Like, you can learn and discover and explore the game without having to worry about the mechanics so much. The executioner is just a chef's kiss in terms of damage. So that's what I'm talking about here. And then there's also a 3rd type of character, and I'm going to do this one. This is the Navigator, Kasha. She is a companion, and the reason I'm pointing her out is she also needs willpower. So she's like a psyker, except she's not a psyker. She's a mutant, actually. This game allows you to create your own set of mercenaries. You can create your own party of 6. You don't have to use the companions in the game. But there's a lot of things that the Owlcat, the developer, did to make the companions more desirable. One of them is that the companions have skills that you can't get if you create your own characters. And Kasha is one of those examples. She's a navigator, and she has all these unique navigator skills that nobody else in the game even has access to. And she's very powerful in her own right. She has this massive cone damage attack, and you'll read about it online. A lot of people think this is the most powerful thing in the game. I don't. The Executioner Fire is way more powerful, but this is really darn good. I mean, it's a close second. And I really like the Held in My Gaze as well, because that is like a sniper type of attack, and she puts everybody on fire that she hits with her abilities as well. So again, Kasha is a navigator. It's a special. I mean, she's an officer archetype, but she has navigator skills that nobody else in the game has access to. Now, Abelard, I focused him on soldier, and I gave him the defensive, second level archetype, And I think next time around I would make him an assassin. I would focus him more on the attack. He doesn't do as much damage as everybody else, and it's largely because he's a defensive-minded. But you know what? When the party wipes, he's still standing most of the time. Anyways, I'm gonna keep going, and then I'm just showing I had Ulfar in my final battle because he has a massive amount of hit points. He has 329 hit points, and you know, everybody else, the closest next person was like in the 200s. Like, look, she has 198. She has 268. The Navigator does, but 198 is like so much lower, and he's got 329. So he was just so powerful. I could just put him in front of everybody, and he could just absorb all the hits while I stood behind him and sniped with all my other characters. All right, I'm going to keep going. Here I'm just showing the dog and how the dog had really high stats. The dog is like another party member. Goes out and just tears up the field. Does a lot of pretty decent damage. Not as much as some of these other characters, but it definitely held its own. I was very happy with that character. And then I'm showing Heinrichs here.
In my experience, making mistakes takes longer than making a plan.
Thanks, dude.
Pizza Hut's hooking you up with more of what you love. 4 Lovers Pizzas loaded with your favorite toppings. Order on the app.
Sorry. It's really loud on my earphones, too, when that comes on. All right, I'm going to keep going. So, again, this is my character. Oh, so now I loaded another save. This is my second playthrough. So I played through it once, I beat it, and I showed you my characters. Now this is my second playthrough where now, this time, I am a Psyker, and I have Argenta, who is focusing on ballistic, range attack. I have Pascal, who is a Skull Swarm Overseer. I have Heinrichs, who is a Psyker, but he's focusing more on the healing, the Biomancy side, and he has a Raven. I have Solomorn here with a dog, and I have Jay with her eagle. And I absolutely love the eagle. Like, if you ask me, like, which of these pets, I mean, obviously I love the dog because I in real life have a dog, and I always like doing the dog thing. But I honestly think the eagle's better. I like the eagle so much. It does really, really great damage, and it can, it's very versatile. But anyways, let me keep going here. So I'm going through and just explaining exactly what I just showed you. And here I'm explaining the Stronger Together, which I explained earlier. And I was showing that the pets don't get the Stronger Together, only the party members. But everybody gets the Stronger Together bonus. And remember, it doesn't stack. And then with Jay here, we have, it's coming up right here. We're going to pause. So Jay is the only character in the game that has this Cold Trader's Acumen. And again, if you create your own character, you can't give yourself this skill. This is the most amazing skill in the game, if you ask me. But there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 factions in the game, and you earn reputation with them. The Drusians, for example, you can go up to level 15 reputation. The Explorators and Fellowship of the Void, you can go up to 21. The Kasbalika mission, I think you can go to 17. And I can't remember what the Imperial Navy goes up to, but it's in the teens as well. So your reputation level, as you improve that in the game, her skills just start skyrocketing. So she's like the ultimate skill monkey, and she gets so good. So her resistance tests, which are good for anything, if you're at level 15 Drusian reputation, she gets plus 15 to all resistance tests. And then she gets 2 times that, so she gets 30 to her Imperium lore. Right now she's at 150, so that would crank it up to 180. And then like this one can go to level 21, so she can get 21% to her critical hit. And then she gets 42% to her coercion. And same here, 42% to tech use and 21% to her armor. This is just fantastic, folks. Jay is like, people don't like her because she's just a pistol-wielding officer, weirdo. I think she's an expansion character, so she's not in, I think, the base game. I could be wrong. I didn't start with the base game. I started with expansions, but I'm telling you, she is like one of the best characters in the game, companions, and she can be your skill monkey. She can take, look at that. She covers persuasion. She covers coercion. She covers commerce. You don't need fellowship. You don't need a fellowship character as long as you have her in your party. And I should also point out that when you do a skill check, whether it's testing your characteristic or your skills, it doesn't matter. When you're doing some kind of check, and the game uses the best party member for that skill or characteristic. So if you're doing a persuasion check, as long as you have somebody in your party with high persuasion, that person's persuasion will be used instead of yours. There are times in the game where you're by yourself. It's not often, but it does happen enough times that it's worth mentioning. And when that happens, you are on your own. Even though you have party members with high persuasion, you're stuck using your own persuasion to get through whatever the storyline is where you're by yourself. It does happen. I just don't think that those situations are like I don't think you need to lose sweat over it. But the thing is she covers persuasion, coercion, and commerce. Those are the 3 fellowship skills, right? So she's got those covered. She has tech use covered and Imperium lore. Now, those are both intelligence skills. So you could argue, okay, well, those may not be as helpful. That's probably true. They're probably not as helpful, but tech use is critically important in the game, and she can have some of the best tech use in the game because of this. So anyways, and you can see I'm not even working on her intelligence in this particular playthrough, but it's something you could really try to capitalize on. Anyways, I highly, highly recommend Jay. You do not get her until Act 2. So you're going to play through the prologue and all of Act 1 before you get her. So just bear that in mind. It's a long time until you get her. But you don't start trading and improving your reputation level with these guys until, you get to do a little bit in Act 1, but Act 2 is when you really get to start improving your reputation. So when you first get her, she's going to be horrible. Like, her skills are not going to be all that good, but they get better and better as the game go on, and by the end, she's just a rock star. And if you do a romance with her, just be prepared for embarrassing things. All right, let's keep going. And this is me talking about her, like right here, the Cold Trader Acumen. Her persuasion right now at this point in the game, which is very early in the game, she's getting a plus 16 already. She gets 80 because of her fellowship of 80. She, through leveling up as an overseer, she's getting plus 10. And then she's using an item called Heart of the Nameless that she has equipped, giving her another plus 10. And then the Cold Trader Acumen has given her plus 16. So my character, if it were me, I would only have 100. But she has 116 because of this unique ability that only she has. And this will go up and up and up. Because right now I'm at Reputation 8 with these people. I can go up to 15, I think, with this particular one. And so that means this 16 is going to go up to 30. And that's a big, big jump. All right, we're going to keep going here. So here I think I'm loading another save. And
up to 50,000 cars added daily on Cars.com. Where to next?
Okay, so what I'm showing you here is this guy, Danrock, is how you create mercenaries. And I'm also going to show you how to improve your reputation. So these are the 5 factions that you have reputation with. And I don't remember, so this guy's at reputation level 10. And this one's at 3. And that one's at 5. And I'm just showing again how to calculate her little bonus. So we're going to skip that. Alright, now we're going to pick him again. And now I'm going to show you, okay, that's at reputation 10. And then this is where I calculate, okay, how high can it go? So you can see right now it's at 10, and it can go up to 15. That's the highest it goes. And at least for Act 2. It might go higher in Act 3. I can't remember. And I can get to 15 here with this guy in Act 2. This one goes to 21. And again, in Act 3, it might go up even higher. I just can't remember. Alright, so then we're going to keep going. So this is just me talking about the Cold Trader Acumen. And now I'm going to show you the same guy. If you want to make your own party of mercenaries, you would go here, select this, and then you can choose a custom character, and then you can build your own mercenary. So you could have your own set of 6 party members. I always like to, you know, make my family, you know, go with me on a journey. And so you could do that. You could just, you know, create people who are thematically however you want. This is where I go in quite a long diatribe about, I've been starting to play their other game, Pathfinder Wrath of the Righteous, which has like 16 different classes you can play, and then there's 5 subclasses for each one. It's like the party characteristics, you know, the different types of parties members you can have is like, it's insane. Whereas this one, there's only 5 archetypes. Only 5. So with the companions that you get in the game, they will cover all the archetypes. Argenta is the only soldier you get for a long time, but you eventually get another soldier. You get 2 psychers. You get 1 arbiter. Jay is an officer. Your Kasha is an officer. The navigator is an officer. Idira and Pascal are your operatives. And Abelard is your warrior. And so is Heinrich, although he's a psyker warrior. So you get all 5 of them. The game will give you companions with all 5, and they will give you companions that are just better than what you can create on your own. They have like unique abilities that only they can get, and so it's really challenging. And I've never had the temptation to create my own custom party member like I do with Path of the Righteous. With Path of the Righteous, they give you, you know, 12 companions or whatever, but I don't like any of them because I want, you know, I want a pure wizard, or I want a pure fighter, and they give you these, you know, cutesy, you know, half witch, half whatever, and it's you know, I have a lot more temptation to create custom party members in that game, but in this game, I actually think the companions are fantastic, but it's your game, and so I just wanted to explain that you do have to get through the prologue. Yeah, most of the prologue. You have to be able to get to the point where you can talk to that one guy, that Danrock guy, and then once you get there, you can pull up the option to create your own character, and then off you go. So, the game is, it's definitely there. You just can't do it right out of the chute. You have to start the game and at least get Abelard and Argenta, and I know there's one other, Idiri. Those 3 will join you. So there'll be 4 of you until you control the ship. Once you control the ship and you get access to talk to Danrock, go talk to Danrock, and then you can create your own mercenaries, and then you can have your own party of 6. And the only time you would ever need the companions is if you want to progress the story for them and do some special quests that's unique to just them. So another good thing about this game is if you level up, so do they. So everybody levels up and has the same number of experience points. So there's no such thing as running away. Like sometimes if you create your own party of 6, then you can't bring in those other companions anymore because they're just all weak because they have no experience points. That's not the case here. Alright, well anyways, that I think covers what I was trying to cover with this video. And again, I apologize. I made this video, and as you can see, or hear, my microphone is not working at all. I bought a new one, and it's very fickle. It's sometimes I have to make sure it's plugged and seated perfectly in order for it to work, and I started recording without ever checking, and that's just a boneheaded part on me. But anyways, for your character and party planning, I hope that you find this helpful. Again, I can't stress enough that the normal mode is easy.
love Roblox.
I am going to go ahead and shut that off. But anyways, thanks for watching. As always, stay awesome.